Yeah, boy, it's April 14th, and it's episode 105, and this is the Fantasy Football Auctioneer. I'm your host, Uncle Buckets. The Fantasy Football Auctioneer is the official podcast of the fantasyfootballauction.com, the internet's only website dedicated to fantasy football auctions. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fantasyfootballauctioneer, or follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Fantasy Auction. We've got a great show for you tonight. Tonight, we're going to take a look at quarterbacks and tight ends. We're going to look at the offseason moves and signings for these two positions. But, of course, our experts, they're always here. He drafted the fantasy hockey playoff team that will defend our title. Blister, how's the team looking?
Well, I think I say this every year, but I don't know how confident I am that that it will defend our title. But I kind of got the teams I was targeting anyways, so that's all right. But we're kind of loaded up with we had 7 Lightning and 4 Hawks, and we threw in 1 Ranger in there just to because he was too good at that point in the draft to pass up. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, if Hawks and Lightning go all the way, we'll be just fine. They're out early. We'll be out like the Bruins quite early.
That's early. That's real early.
That's quite early.
I was expecting more action on my phone. I will say that, and I was expecting a little bit more commentary about the Georgia Satellites comment that I made.
Well, that's the thing. Like, my Twitter hasn't been working good. Johnny was just over here, and he asked if I got the tweet he sent, and I didn't. And the last tweet, and I tried to upload it and update it, and the last thing I got was 4 days ago. Oh. And the comment you made, I haven't had anything since then. So I don't know what the hell's going on with Twitter, or my phone, or internet, or whatever. There's a lot of issues going on here right now with our technology here.
Yeah, that's for sure. I've got the router hanging from the rafters in the basement right now, so we can get on the old pod. I thought the little change in my pocket would be worth a chuckle, but sorry, my honey's my baby. Anyways, we'll keep going. And he's working dynasty trades like a lady of the night works at a corner. Slim, how's the roster looking?
I don't know if it's looking as good as that lady of the night you're referring to, but
I was on Simpson Street, so.
Oh, really? Should have picked up some Smokies. They got a good meat shop there. Actually had some this weekend. They were delicious.
Well, there you go. There you go. So the dynasty roster, it's looking okay. It's done a
it's a work in progress. It's definitely a lot different than it was at this point last year, that's for sure. But hopefully it'll be
that's a
better.
Good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully.
All right. Let's get it rolling, guys. If you guys are ready, then I'm ready. Let's cock the hammer. It's time for action. So, like I said before, tonight we're going to look at quarterbacks and tight ends. We're going to look at the moves, the trades, and the signings. I guess, guys, let's take a look at quarterbacks first. No real particular order. We've talked a little bit about quarterbacks already. And when we get into tight ends later on, we've already talked a little bit about them. So hopefully tonight will be short and sweet. I know us, short and sweet's about an hour and 3 minutes. So we'll see what we can do. Blister, because I know you're excited to talk about them, I'm going to throw it to you first. Let's take a look at the quarterback position and the Buffalo Bills, who have now traded for Matt Castle. So you're probably very excited about this and the offerings that it brings that Bills offense.
Yes, I think this is a quarterback that you need to jump out there and grab early on, spend hundreds of dollars in your auction, and then join mine because we'll wipe the floor with you. I don't know why, Matt Castle is not really too exciting in news here. Rex Ryan's quarterbacks typically rank between 27th and 30th overall in the league, so there's probably a backup on somebody's team that could put up more fantasy points than Matt Castle will. And I think the only time they have done that is when they've rushed for about 6 touchdowns in a year. And I think in 10 years, Matt Castle has not done that. So pretty safe to say I can't be excited about Matt Castle. I mean, I hope E.J. Manuel progresses. Somebody there, but I mean, they got some nice weapons there. I mean, they got LaShawn McCoy, they got Sammy Watkins. I mean, yeah, if you had a quarterback there, you'd be pretty excited. But I just can't see Castle being the answer. So, no, I don't know what else I can say. Pass up on Castle.
Pass up on Castle. Slim, I mean, it could be Tyrod Taylor even working out of there and does something interesting in camp. No?
Well, I guess it could be for sure. I mean, your guess is as good as mine right now. I don't think any of them are really, like Blister was saying, there's nothing really to be excited about, especially in a one quarterback league.
Yeah.
Rex Ryan, unless he's got a quarterback that can rush the ball, hasn't had anybody who really produces fantasy numbers. The good news is he has a couple decent weapons there, whoever wins the job. But, I mean, we talked about it last week when we discussed LaShawn McCoy a little bit. There should be lots of carries, I think, to go around there, and I don't know how many passes they're gonna be attempting every game. So, yeah, there's not much really to get excited about right now, at least as far as the quarterback situation goes. So it's one of those things you probably want to avoid in a one quarterback league come your draft.
Consensus rankings on Fantasy Pros has Matt Castle at 29th overall. It had Zach Mettenberger, actually, which I thought was interesting, and also one slot behind Jameis Winston. But without a situation, I guess he's kind of a crapshoot. But, I mean, 7 slots behind RG3. I find RG3 to be interesting in the low 20s, to be honest with you.
Well, that offense, though, is really kind of a mess, though, too. So, I mean, yeah, RG3 I know is a guy I'm not really targeting very highly this year either. So,
you know what's frightening is my dynasty quarterbacks, he's my highest rated on Fantasy Pros right now.
Well, he didn't have to be, from what I've heard. But that's
a
whole different show.
I know. It was a lot of tossing and turning. Lost a lot of sleep. I was talking to my wife.
Said by not accepting that Cam Newton trade, you really kept a lot of other dominoes from falling by the sounds of it.
Oh, yeah? He had a lot of stuff lined up there?
I think so. I know I was going to make a trade with him for a quarterback. I was going to give him a quarterback. He wanted Rivers off of me if he traded Cam. So you screwed me over too. Thanks a lot.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome for that. All right, and I guess the only other quarterbacks that have been of any significance, I guess, here as far as trades or whatever, if we take a look at the Eagles, we can talk about it again. I know we talked about it already, but maybe we've had a change of heart or a little bit more time for it to settle in. But Blister, what do you think of Bradford at the Eagles again, in case people didn't go back to episode 103 and listen to it?
Well, I'm a little bit, I don't know. I think the jury's still out in my mind. I mean, any quarterback that played for Chip the last couple of years, I mean, even Mark Sanchez, they were fantasy relevant. They put up decent points. However, they brought in DeMarco Murray, the league's leading rusher last year, and Ryan Matthews, and if the both of them can stay healthy, you got to expect that they're going to be giving them the ball, handing it off quite a bit. So that kind of makes you wonder, will the quarterback be as valuable and as relevant as maybe they were in the past? But like I said, if Bradford, the other biggest question mark is Bradford's health. He's never been able to stay healthy. So I don't know yet what to expect. I mean, he's not a guy that I want to rush out and get. I mean, I remember this year, last time everyone was so high on Nick Foles, and he wasn't all that exciting. He did okay in that offense, but he wasn't playing that well himself. And Sanchez came in and did just fine, but they had LaShawn McCoy then at the time too, and right. Darren Sproles, and they had decent running backs as well, and they still produced points. So I would guess if I was going to wager one way or the other, I would assume that he should be still relevant. If he could stay healthy based on what they've done before, then I think he could still produce some fantasy points for you. Not a guy I want to rush out and buy at an auction, just because in my mind there's probably a lot of other guys out there a little more reliable, or guys that you can know what you're going to get more, and plus the health thing, you just never see the guy never see the guy stay healthy.
Right. Hey, Slim, so we talk about streaming quarterbacks an awful lot, and spending $1 or $2. Slim, is Sam Bradford somebody, if he's hovering around there for $1 and you're looking for a quarterback, or are you buying low on that?
I actually would. I'm not expecting huge things, but I mean, before he got hurt in 2013 with his first few games, he played 7 games, and that's been it. But he had 3 of those 7 games. He had over 20 points, and one he had 17, which isn't terrible really. And in 3 of those games, he threw for 3 touchdowns. So he wasn't doing bad before he got hurt there. And like Blister kind of touched on, we saw what Mark Sanchez could do in Chip Kelly's offense, and we know Chip Kelly believes that his scheme can produce results no matter who's playing. So if I can get him for $1, I'll take a flyer on that and see. I mean, if this guy gets me 20 points a game, I'm laughing right there.
Yeah.
And I've seen maybe in an offense, we'll say that's worse than the one he's going to be in this year, that he could put up 20-point games. So I don't think it's far-fetched for him to do that in this high-volume offense. I mean, you got to be also take it with a little bit of grain of salt in the sense, I mean, they lost their number 1 receiver from last year. They still have Matthews, that's great, but he's only coming into his 2nd year. We don't know if he'll be able to be the true number 1. And after that, it's pretty thin. We don't know. I mean, well, we do know Riley Cooper sucks. We don't know maybe somebody like Josh Huff. I think he's going to obviously be involved more than he was last year, but what he can do with that and how much more remains to be seen. I'm sure they'll draft a receiver. We don't know what will happen there. And they've got one really good running back and one who's all right if he's healthy, which doesn't happen very often. So they're probably going to hand the ball off a lot too. So not sure how many attempts Bradford will get. If he's going to get as many as, say, Foles was in 2013 or something like that. But even if they throw the ball, say, 40 times a game, 35 times a game, which is a lot, then he should be able to put up some decent fantasy numbers. So if you're streaming, that can be right in your wheelhouse then maybe.
All right. Blister, do you like him better than Andy Dalton?
I think that the potential is there for him to do better than Andy Dalton, yeah.
Flacco?
No, I'm a little worried about what Joe's going to have there for this year. Steve Smith isn't getting any older. Marlon Brown's got to step into that number 2 role. He should be a good target, but I don't have a lot of faith in Joe.
All right. Teddy Bridgewater?
You know what? I think that Teddy could break out and get into the top 15 this year. I have him ranked around 21st right now. I think it just, a lot. This will change a lot as we see whatever happens with AP and if Cordarrelle can get any better. Charles Johnson can carry that offense. So right now I have Sam ahead of him, knowing what he's getting into more so. But I think Teddy has a chance to potentially surpass him.
So Blister's making reference to his player rankings with auction values available over at the website. We updated it just about a week ago. So head on over to thefantasyfootballauction.com, click on the auction values tab across the top. Blister's got the rankings, previous year's results, little news and notes beside each of the positional players as well. So head on over to the website and take a look. We'll make reference to it throughout the podcast tonight and future pods. Slim's been working on the NFL mock draft right now, so once that's over, then we'll slide those rookies in, and those 2 guys will definitely have auction values and rankings up on a more regular basis once we get some real moves going. So speaking of moves and Blister, we let you speak to Bradford right off the hop. So let's take a look at the flip side there. Slim, St. Louis Rams take Nick Foles in that trade. What do you think of Foles over there in the Rams offense?
Not real high on it. I mean, biggest thing is I just don't know how much passing again they're going to do. Jeff Fisher's never been known to, have a dynamic passing offense. So yeah, I'm not expecting anything real huge this year. Again, there's not a lot of great receiving options there. I mean, they could spend. There's rumors they might spend a first-round pick on a receiver. Someone like Kevin White, which would be great. Pair him with Brian Quick. But yeah, we don't know that yet. So right now, with Quick being your number 1 option coming off an injury, it's nothing really to get too excited about. And again, he just kind of falls now into that logjam of quarterbacks kind of in that 14 to 20 group or something like that. So where, you more or less just have to play matchups with those guys. Because if you play them kind of throughout the year, they're only going to be a handful of points difference but separating those guys. So you kind of got to just find the hot hand in a given week and hope you pick the right week and really exploit matchups. So, yeah, again, guy that you might want to look at streaming, I would personally rather take a flyer. If I'm going to spend $1 or $2, I'd rather have someone like Bradford, because I feel like his ceiling is higher than Foles. Even though Foles might be the safer bet, only because there's a better chance he can play 16 games, I think, in my opinion. But, nothing get real excited about, though.
But if you're streaming, I mean, then there's no investment, no harm, no foul, right? Bradford's in for 2 weeks and gone while you spent $1. And
that's right. And that's why I would opt for Bradford 9 times out of 10, at least right now.
So Blister, I'm just thinking off the top of my head that Foles, he might be an interesting daily play this year because you're going to get him for cheap, and if you get the right matchup, I mean, he can huck a long ball.
Well, that's true. I mean, that'll be a guy to watch because quite often there's not a lot separating the quarterbacks in some of the dailies, and I kind of find that you're better off to spend less on those guys and try to upgrade maybe your running backs or your receivers. So, yeah, he could be a nice little play there. It's hard to expect. He fell off last year a bit, Foles. He's going into St. Louis. He's got to adjust and learn and, get himself familiar with all the people around him. So, again, I think he's a guy like you could steal for $1 or waiver wire him or pick him up. But, he's not something, unless you want him right now in our ECL dynasty as our quarterback
no,
too.
Thanks. That's well, I don't know. There's still going to be. I mean, doesn't a guy like Derek Carr or Bortles have more upside than Foles?
Yeah,
especially
but I
with
think
their
they're
Crabtree.
owned.
Are they owned already? Kept?
Carr is owned. Yeah. Basically, you're looking at Carson Palmer, Dalton, RG3, Flacco, Smith, Fitzpatrick, Geno, Foles, Glennon, Cutler.
As a 2?
And that's about it.
Hence the message right now. The clock is ticking. You're saying?
Ryan Mallett. Yeah, there's not a lot out there. So I mean, do you want someone like that, or do you want defense, kicker, or Brian Quick? Or,
all right. So Slim, we're in the ECL Day 2 draft right now, as I know you know, but everyone's probably wondering what the heck we're talking about. So we're on the clock right now. Blister's looking at possibly a second quarterback. Do you hit something here? Do you find some depth at some other or some big upside guys at different positions? What are your thoughts? This is a live draft thought process.
I like to opt for the skill position. Especially you guys are pretty set at quarterback. You got Cam Newton already. You don't really need, at this point, I don't think, another quarterback right now. And there's some guys that are out there that you could take flyers on that, like we talked about Bradford. So I'd be taking somebody like Quick if you think he's the best receiver out there, then take a stab at him. Plus, he's got some upside as a keeper, too. I mean, you never know. He could emerge as their number one. He building off a decent year last year. Second-round pick. So he's got some talent. He just needs to get more reps, and hopefully he can do that this year.
And have not the third-string quarterback in St. Louis throw him the football or whatever,
Well, that's it, too. Hopefully. That's right. A little more consistency, a little bit better quarterback play. Hopefully they can run the ball a little bit better all season here and balance that offense, and might not be too bad.
All right. Hopefully nobody. There it is. And I like it too, Blister. And we talked about it before via the instant message. It seems like a decent pick with some good upside still going forward. And what if they do draft Kevin White? Well, now all of a sudden, you don't have the double over the top and those types of things coming in, and he'd be a little bit more reliable, and because he's been around and knows the systems and stuff like that. So I'm all right with it.
Right.
Okay, pick is in.
Pick is in. ECL. Take that. Take that from the runners up. Well, I just thought I saw you.
We got lots of wide receivers, so if they do all pan out, we could always trade some of that for some more running back depth, probably. We'll see. These guys are chiselers. They make good deals with each other, but they don't trade with the Canadians.
Oh, yeah. Always, eh?
Yeah, they want exchange all the time. They want the exchange rate all the time.
Well, it is 30% right now. I can completely understand.
No, it's killing us. It's killing
Probably
us.
Probably more than 30%. Too bad we didn't have that around a year and a half ago. Maybe we'd still have a mill kicking around. Anyways, we'll leave that alone.
No kidding.
All right, guys. So those are 3 moves that we've seen at the quarterback position. Let's transition into tight ends. Let's take a look, I guess, at let's look at Denver here first with Owen Daniels and the signing there, 3-year, $12 million. Virgil Green, he re-signed. He's still around, taking the 3-year, $8.4 million deal. What do we think, Blister? Let's stick with you. What do you think of the tight end position in Denver? And I don't know, what's the situation there, especially with an aging Peyton?
Well, I mean, they do have an aging Peyton, but Daniels has played with Gary Kubiak most of his career, if not all. So I think he knows what he's getting when he has Owen Daniels. Owen Daniels has always had a bit of a problem staying healthy, but when you got Peyton slinging the ball, I think specifically probably maybe in the red zone he might be maybe more valuable, but it's tough with Virgil Green. He's a little younger, obviously, and if he can learn from Daniels, he could easily surpass Daniels. But he's a guy I would probably take a flyer on late in the draft because just look at what people do around Peyton. I mean, they move that offense. They're high powered. They put up a lot of points, and anybody in that offense has a chance to produce. So I think that somebody might take a look at later on. I mean, he's not going to be your tight end one. I don't think he's going to put up numbers like that. But if he's your bye week filler or maybe just a good matchup if you're playing the waiver wire and stuff like that, then I think you got to keep him in mind.
All right, and you have him ranked fairly high right now, Blister. Oh no, sorry, okay. I'm looking at the wrong.
I got him pretty low.
Yeah, no, you do have him pretty low. I apologize. I was looking at it the wrong way. Yeah, you have him way down to 29 at $1 right now. So you are talking late round flyer and hoping that things pan out as we move through the season.
Yeah, I think that, he could potentially move up. It'll be one of these guys that you kind of watch how things unfold in training camp and preseason, and he could move ahead. But, in all reality, there's a lot of guys ahead of them other than Jermaine Gresham that's immediately ahead of him. But all the guys ahead of him have that potential to put up more points, I think, and be more valuable just because of their age, maybe the situations they're in and stuff like that and what they did last year. So, Owen Daniels finished 18th last year with Flacco. Not terrible. So I think he probably merits a bit higher standing than he is right now. But we'll see. I got a guy way ahead of him like Jacob Tamme, who was 52nd last year. But if you look at Atlanta, they got Julio. They really were hurt last year, I think, without Gonzalez there. And Roddy White is still decent, but he's not getting any younger. Harry Douglas is gone. I think Jacob Tamme could be a real good sleeper too in that offense. If they're going to get to the end zone, everyone's going to give all the attention to Julio. So Gonzalez caught a lot of touchdowns for Matt Ryan, and if Tamme can be decent, he could probably develop into a pretty valuable little late round tight end as well. So that's why I got him up there. Expectations are a bit high for him.
Okay, so we can speak a little bit more specifically on him as we move forward. So I just wanted to get your take on this. I'm looking through the Fantasy Pros consensus rankings, and if we look at Owen Daniels, he's considerably higher in this strange tight end landscape that we have right now. Fantasy Pros have him ranked up at the tight end 14. How do you think how that balances out with Blister, who's got him way down as tight end 29?
Well, I tend to, there's some guys in this group here, someone like Kyle Rudolph, I'm not that high on. I would put Daniels ahead of him. But it's tough to say. I mean, again, is there some names here that are probably more skilled? For sure there are, but then it always comes down to this Denver offense, and we saw what Julius Thomas did there. Not to say he's not skilled; he's a very skilled player, but we saw Peyton Manning use him very effectively and efficiently, especially in the red zone. So, I mean, I think Owen Daniels has to get some of that. Now the trick is just predicting how much, and this is where you're going to see a lot of variance. So, I mean, I don't think that it's crazy that Blister has him that low. I don't think he'd be the only one to do that. I think you probably kind of find him somewhere probably in the low teens is probably a more average place to find him. But, I mean, if I don't get an elite guy or even somebody along the lines of, I don't know, I'm trying to think, Delaney Walker even or something like that. If I got to go into tiers lower than that, I've got no problem taking a stab at Owen Daniels and pairing him up with, Tyler Eifert or Dwayne Allen or something like that, and just seeing what I can get from that position this year, and hoping you get some fairly decent weekly consistency from him. And yeah, I think, like I said, there's going to be a lot of opportunity there with Denver. It's just a matter of how much is him, and I don't think Virgil Green's real scary for his production. So as long as Daniel stays healthy, he should be a viable low-end tight end one every week.
Yeah, well, I just find this tight end position, it just seems over the last few years it's just becoming more and more of a mess. I don't know how you play it anymore, and is it worth spending any money on anybody other than Gronk, let's say, Blister? Like, do you think it's as an early, we don't know anything about preseason, et cetera, but like right now, Blister, just what are you thinking about this crazy tight end position?
Well, it is tough. Other than Gronk, there's nothing real concrete. You look at Jimmy Graham going over to Seattle. I mean, they don't throw the ball a ton, so you can't be as excited about him as he would have been with Drew Brees. Martellus Bennett's got a new offensive coordinator. Some things are changing over there, coaching and everything, so I can't imagine him getting the most. Like, he had a pile of targets last year, second highest. I don't think that's going to hold up. Greg Olson's getting a little older. Travis Kelce, we expect big things from him, but he needs to be used more. So all these guys, you go down the list. Antonio Gates was third last year. Can he do that again? He's 93 years old. All these guys. Julius Thomas, who was great, was with Peyton. Now he's in Jacksonville. And not only do they got a young quarterback, but they got a pile of young receivers to spread the ball around with. So there's a real big discrepancy at tight end, and I think you're going to find guys that are going to produce, but it's going to be so hard to predict really after Gronkowski. Graham's probably going to still get $20 or more at an auction just because of his name, but you can't spend that confidently, I don't think.
Well, why don't we stick with Jimmy Graham, and we did speak to him back in episode 103. Head over to the website, click podcasts on iTunes, those types of things. But what do you think about this Jimmy Graham trade to Seattle? We talked about it earlier that it might be a little bit of a downtick for him over there, but maybe an uptick for someone like Russell Wilson. Talk to us a little bit about Jimmy Graham over there.
Yeah, I think he catches less passes this year. But we kind of touched on it in another show, but maybe I'm in the minority here. I think his touchdown numbers don't change dramatically from where they were last year. And I don't think it's a stretch that he could maybe get to close to 15 touchdowns even. Like I said before, I think Seattle, they know what they have. Obviously, they made an aggressive move to get this guy, and they're the kind of coaching staff that they really play to their strengths, and they'll find ways to get him the ball, especially, I think, in the red zone. So, yeah, he might only leave every game with, 3, 4, maybe 5 catches, but I think if they get the ball in the red zone, he's going to be targeted heavily, and I think that's where you'll see most of his scoring come from, is in that red zone area. So I think his targets go down. I think his receptions go down. But I think his touchdowns pretty much stay unscathed. And, yeah, I don't think we're going to see 1,200 receiving yards from him again. But I think he can get close to 1,000. And if he can score 10 to 12, 15 touchdowns, we're not going to see a huge dip in him. In PPR leagues, you might notice it a little bit more, but I think he's still the clear-cut tight end too, for the time being at least. So yeah, I don't foresee a huge dip, and this could be good for you. You can play this up that oh yeah, he's leaving this prolific passing offense, and hopefully in auctions his price goes down. And if he's being drafted anywhere near the price of guys like Kelsey and Bennett and Olsen, I think you're finding value there, because I think he's better than those guys. So yeah, maybe you can create some value for yourself here.
Blister, I like that strategy. You walk in, you talk about how Jimmy's fallen into that, a full tier now of second tier tight ends. He's in there amongst them rather than being in his own. I kind of like looking at that.
Start it now, though. Don't wait till your draft.
We're starting it right now. Yeah. Hashtag tier 2.
That's right. Well, you got to plant the seed and make people believe.
Plant the seed. That's good.
I like that. Early auction warfare. I love it. All right. Awesome. Blister, let's...
It's never an off-season in fantasy, dynasty football especially.
Well, yeah, especially. But, I mean, that's the thing, though, too, right? Especially like one we're playing in. You got the guys with the favorites, and I still don't even understand how guys have favorites, even though guys have moved teams and the whole thing. They still stay faithful to the guy that played on their team 5 years ago because they got the man crush on him from when they drafted him or whatever. It's a weird scenario altogether. Let's go. Okay, let's keep rolling on the tight ends. Blister, let's go back to you, taking a look at Julius Thomas, who has now moved to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So Julius Thomas signed a 5-year, $46 million contract. I think that they're looking for him to move up high into that tier 2 tight end. Blister, what do you think about Julius Thomas in Jacksonville?
Well, I don't mind him. I don't have the high expectations that I did when he had Peyton throwing the ball. Like I was just saying a bit earlier, he's got Blake Bortles, who I think is a good young quarterback, but he's got Alan Hearns, potentially Justin Blackman, Marquise Lee, Allen Robinson. Those 4 guys, if they all get to play, are going to also get their targets. So I'm not sure, and they're all quality, I think. So I think it'll be hard for him to produce fantasy numbers like he ever has in the past. Like last year, he ended up missing a few games. He finished as the 10th ranked tight end. He started off amazing. Every game he was catching touchdowns, but then it slowed right down. And I don't know how many he can produce in that offense. The whole offense overall has question marks. You don't think of that offense as the mighty Broncos offense that's going to move the ball and has Peyton at the helm and can craft up some plays and just keep it going. So I think he takes the downturn. He might not be a bad little gamble, later in your auction if you get him for $4 or $5 or something. He might not be too bad, but yeah, I just think there's a lot of mouths to feed there. A little worried.
The name value, I think, like Slim was talking about Jimmy, you talk him down. This is maybe somebody you plant the seed and talk him up. Oh, now that Peyton wasn't being able to throw the ball very well and he was being underutilized, and now he's going to go with this nice young quarterback who's going to be under pressure and he's going to need that safety valve, right? Maybe you can move him up in those tiers.
Yeah, well, this is true. I mean, some people don't do a lot of research. They'll know that name, and you got to take advantage of those folks that you draft, and let them keep going, and maybe they don't even know he's not in there anymore.
Yeah, that could be too. But I mean, the magazines at least will have it in there, so they'll be updated enough because it will be for June 1st. So, so what do you think, Julius Thomas? Do you like him more than Antonio Gates this year?
Well, yeah, I'll just say that I'm waiting for that other shoe to drop on Antonio Gates, so I'll take Thomas over him.
Well, and the other shoe would be for people who are just kind of, fell asleep there while you were talking, and you're talking about a little Ladarius Green action.
Well, I guess I'm just waiting for this ageless wonder to finally. We keep waiting. He's like the Frank Gore of tight ends. We keep waiting for production to slip, and we think, oh, just as he's starting to get there, all of a sudden he bounces back and is like the third leading tight end in fantasy
Plantar
points again.
fasciitis.
So, yeah, I'd say I think his ankles and feet are going to fall off, and nope, he's fine.
he'll be just fine. Okay, so
but yeah,
let's
I don't know.
Okay, well let's move on to another guy who I was just going to throw out there at you, and then I thought, well, we better talk about him first. Jordan Cameron making the move to Miami. That's a 2-year, $15 million signing. He's out of Cleveland. Tannehill throws the football from what we've been heard. So what we've heard, sorry. So Slim talked to us about Jordan Cameron in Miami.
Well, he's to me a really tough guy to peg. I think obviously he's talented. It's the injuries that get me. He's a guy that I am personally trying to avoid on drafts if I can. I think he's going to go for way more than I'm willing to pay, and I just don't trust, if that he can stay healthy for 16 games. Guys with concussion histories like this really scare me, especially at a position like tight end, where he's going to be running across the middle of the field a lot, and he's just a prime target for linebackers and safeties to tee off on. So yeah, I'm hoping I can drive the price of him up and let other people pay for him. I don't even want the headache. I would much rather have many other guys than him.
Headache.
Touche. I like the offense he's in. I really do. I'm high on Tannehill. I like some of the receivers that they have there. I have a feeling that Miami will draft another receiver, which will help spread things out a little bit more even. And I think the biggest thing, like I said, is I like Tannehill. I feel like he's getting better every year.
Mm-hmm.
So if he could stay healthy, I think there's a lot of potential for him. He's just too high risk for me. And owners that drafted him last year found that out firsthand, and hopefully you learn from that and you can try and avoid that. Unless you can get them for dirt cheap, and then obviously everyone has a price where they're worthwhile. I just think it'll be really, really hard to ever find that with him or ever get him for that price.
So, Blister, is that your thought process too? You have him ranked down at 18 right now with guys like Jacob Tamme and Jordan Reed?
Yeah, it's a little low, but it's kind of based on his, I guess, big letdowns that we've seen, and it's largely in part to the injuries. But if I look at something here, like the Dolphins let go Mike Wallace, Brian Hartline, Brandon Gibson, and Charles Clay. And that's 300 targets, 190 receptions, and 2,200 yards and 16 touchdowns that can't all be replaced by Kenny Stills, right? Those are big numbers. And the other thing we know is Tannehill always had a hard time connecting on downfield throws, which means his high. He put up some solid numbers the last couple of years, Tannehill, but they weren't because he was going deep. So they're on these shorter passes, which in point the tight end comes in. Now Charles Clay, who left. Last year he finished, where is he now, as a 15th ranked tight end in fantasy, and the year before that he was 7th in fantasy. So he had a top 10 campaign in 2013. So if Cameron, and that's the big thing, is the health. It always scares you when you've seen this history, and Slim is right on the point there when he said that. But if he stays healthy, there's not a lot of options there. Jarvis Landry, and there's not a lot of really trusted, proven pass catchers there. So if he can stay healthy, he fits right into the mold of shorter passes for Tannehill to complete. He could be relevant. If Charles Clay could come in 7th as a tight end in the league, then I think that Jordy Cameron could. Jordy Cameron.
I wanted to make a play on words there earlier. I'm cool. Just ask my mom.
Old Fort High flanker. He could do it too. So. Of course, the year that Charles Clay, a couple of years ago, when he was 7th, Jordan Cameron was 4th. He put up a little bit better numbers than him. So you know what? If he can stay healthy, I think he could slide into the top 10 again in tight ends.
Again, it just shows that tight end position is so volatile. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, at this point, if I'm doing an auction today, Slim, like the guy you're helping on Twitter today, I mean, I'm streaming streaming tight ends, just like I would be streaming quarterbacks probably.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's tempting to go for Gronk. It really is. The guy is
head and shoulders above. Yeah.
Yeah, he is, and I mean, it's that's what makes it tempting, right? You feel like you have such a positional advantage, and really you do. I mean, it used to be that you had a positional advantage over everybody except for the Graham owner, and when you played him, then I guess those guys were a wash, and it came down to the rest of your team. Now that's not the case. But I will say that if you can get a guy like Martellus Bennett or Greg Olsen or even Travis Kelce for the right price, they become very serviceable too. And I honestly don't know what's going to happen this year. Obviously, Gronk's going to go for high, and I think what we'll see though is these next 5 guys, and Kelce, Olsen, Bennett, Graham, and even Gates will probably slide in there. They're going to go for, I'm thinking, anywhere from $17 to somebody like Graham, who's going to go for probably almost 30. So I guess you have to it's going to be very specific to your draft. If you draft with a bunch of guys that aren't big on tight ends, you might be able to get a guy like Greg Olsen for a good value. Or, maybe guys sleep on Julius Thomas and, don't put him because he went to Jacksonville in that same category, which I think is a mistake. I think he's talented enough to be in there, and I think he will do enough to still hang in there with those guys to some capacity. So that's a guy that I think there could be value with. So it's going to be tough. After that, then I think you just literally hope that you can get a guy for $1 or $2 and try and pick a couple guys out of this logjam of about a dozen names. Maybe you're really high on Fleener. Maybe you're really high. You think Zach Ertz is going to bounce back, or Tyler Eifert's going to have a bounce back year. Those are guys that you target and try and spend, $4 or $5 to get $6 and stream them with another guy you can get for $1.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting come draft time what some guys' strategies are, and as you alluded to there, it might be interesting to see how much Gronk could really go for this year because he's just that clear-cut guy.
Yeah, I got a feeling Gronk goes for over 40 in a standard, $200 budget, but that's just I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I will see once we start mocking and everything, but I don't know. I just feel like right now, we saw it even last year, the prices escalated. I felt like more as the off-season wore on and the closer we got to the season, prices seemed to go up and up and up.
Right.
Even though I didn't think that would happen.
Well, that was tight ends and quarterbacks, a real quick, real early look at just some of the moves and the trades that happened here so far in up till episode 105. So we sent out, just before we sign off, guys, I sent out a newsletter to people who bought the draft kit last year, and I just said, hey, with our premium subscription coming up and us getting that all dialed in, if you want to throw out a rating and a comment on iTunes, we'll put you in a draw for 10 free premium subscriptions. June 1, we'll go through the list, hopefully, of hundreds and hundreds of comments and thousands, millions and millions, and hopefully we'll generate that list and get 10 guys out there and sign them up for free for the premium subscription. So if you're listening right now and that is of interest to you, head on over to iTunes, subscribe to us, leave a comment, leave a rating. It's going to help us out. We're going to move up the rankings. You're going to spread the auction knowledge out there. We'll have more and more people playing auction because those new players won't be so scared off because they'll have experts like us right there helping them out every step along the way. And it's going to help you out too because you could get yourself a free subscription to the website. So all those things, you help us out, we'll help you out a little bit. So it's just good business, guys. Just good business.
Or why don't we just say if you subscribe, if you leave a comment, you don't even have a chance. You just get the free subscription to. Why not?
Damn.
There you go. What's an even better offer?
I'll do it, Blister. I'm crazy like that.
Gauntlet thrown down.
Wow.
That's how we roll.
Wow. That's a big statement. Nobody.
That's the way you debate.
Nobody.
And get writing some stuff here too.
Nobody in the industry does that. Nobody. Everybody. Oh, hey, what's up? Hey, no one just says leave a comment on iTunes and you get on for free. Unheard of. But you just heard it here. Slim called it, and because he called it, we can't take it back now.
That's right.
So, hey, I mean, maybe there's 200-300 comments all of a sudden on there, and we're right up there with, that Blueberry guy or whatever his name is, and wow, my friend Mr. Richards. Maybe we'll be right up there with those guys, and we'll mainstream this auction business for all those redraft, snake draft guys.
They're missing out.
Awesome. It'd be awesome. All right, anyways, so head over to iTunes. We just put it out there, brand new, not discussed off the air, discussed now, and I like it. Let's go over to iTunes, subscribe over there, leave us a comment, give us a rating, let us know how you feel about the podcast, and get yourself set up. Number two, if you're going to do that, why don't you fire us an email through the website, footballauctioneer@gmail.com, to verify that you put yourself in there, so that we know that it's you and know that it's legit. And what else can we do? Head on over to the website, take a look at Slim's NFL mock draft, which is getting some attention on Walter Football, which is today. Just updated today. That's April 14th. As we draw closer to that day, which is April 30th, correct, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Awesome. Can't remember the actual date. Whatever the Thursday is at the end of the month.
Yeah, that's
30th.
What it is.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. And all that goodness. So, guys, that's episode 105. I don't know when I'm going to see you guys next. I miss not being in the building. I don't even know if I'm there this week. It's just it's a sad state of affairs altogether. It makes me sad. But I am, out on the soccer pitch every night. So if you guys ever want to come visit me, then you know where to find me. As Blister yawns because he doesn't want to be out there.
Just coughing. I get cold.
Did you mute?
Well, finally we can put the hockey stuff away. We can finally put the goalie pads away for the kids.
Well, that's what I thought. And I got a text today that a team from Cooch might need an exhibition game. Yada yada. We need to start with a goalie. I'm just like, oh my God, really? Did that just happen? So anyway, just when I thought it was over. Blister, let me tell you, that competitive novice, whew.
Yes. How did that go?
Serious business. I think Hayden had almost 150 shots in the 4 games. It was busy. That's all right, though. We in the semifinals played the number one ranked team that we lost to the night before 7-2, and we only lost 3-2 that game, and it was the number one ranked team out of the home of the Stahl brothers, so it's not too bad. That's not too bad. Anyways, I guess, I know where I'm going to see you guys. I'm going to see you guys on Wednesday, tomorrow night. Hockey draft.
You have a hockey auction tomorrow night.
I'm actually going to be at a draft, which is good. Slim, are you there tomorrow night?
No, I won't be there. Actually, I might come by for a little bit just to hang out.
Have a beer.
I don't know, man. Your wife
watch
is on a jewelry party.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Did you know that, Sam?
I actually did just find that out this morning on the way to work. Yep. Is yours going too?
Gibby's. Gibby, I said, so Gibby gonna make it tomorrow night? I don't know, he says this. What are you talking about?
That's why he texted me.
Well, apparently the wife's got a jewelry party. Get out of town. Jewelry party. How does all this shit happen on the same night each time? Unbelievable.
They get together. They've got our schedule. They have one big shared calendar of this is what all the possibilities could be.
And he knew about it for 2 weeks or more. He could have put it on there. And you're listening, Gibson. Give yourself a kick in the ass.
I think he would have learned his lesson from our hockey draft the other night when he did
on
put
Friday.
That on the
Yeah. Good God, gonna call you K-Mac here soon.
He's gonna be there.
He'll be there. Shit, yeah. The guy's got nothing weighing him down. The guy's a man. He's a man.
All right, guys.
So much.
I'm going to sign this off, so hopefully I'll see both of you guys tomorrow night, and you too, Gibson. And for the rest of you, I'll see you when it's springtime in the Rockies.